know that. Did any of you guys know that? We're in a service here. And she's having a conversation with him, but she was so new in the Lord. She was so excited to hear. And she would stop me in the middle. So I said, wait. I don't know anything about that. Can you explain that to me? And I would have to sit back, and I was talking to her and everybody else. I guess everybody knew everything in the Bible, and I just gave it for granted that she didn't. So she was very vocal right there in the middle of service. The whole congregation had to sit there and just kind of stumble along. But I stopped because she was hungry, and I needed to explain to her what happened next. And she would just sit there, and sometimes tears would start flowing down her cheeks. She was, oh wow, I didn't know something, probably something so special. That's in the Word of God. So yeah, she was, oh, it's amazing. And to listen to a new believer be so blown away by some of the simple things that I took for granted as a known thing. She was being moved in the core of her spirit. And I had to stop and walk in and ask her. And I didn't say, sister, why don't you just wait till the service is over when you talk, And just don't bother me when I'm trying to speak, because I'm trying to. That was not the place. She had a question, and I answered it. And so she did that in the women's group too. She'd stop the whole thing and says, what's the rest of the story? And they finished telling her what the rest of the story was, and he goes, man, I wouldn't have done it that way. But that is so cool that they did it that way. And look at the results they had. I'm sitting there going, yeah, that's right. Pretty cool, huh? And I got excited too because she got excited. But you know what I'm saying? There's something about understanding the things that this early church started. And they started sharing everything in common. Everything in common. And the 4 pillars that they had and they based what was going on was the apostles' teaching, the fellowship, real fellowship as we heard, not just a transactional fellowship or relationship, but a real genuine relationship. I mean, they had to do everything in common. How many times have you been willing to sell your house, your car, and anything else to help someone else that has a need? See why I call it the prototype church and not the church we have today? If we go back to basics, start to understand that the real dynamic church in the book of Acts, what made a difference, was they held all things in common. That is the power. Wherever we're at, if we want to see a community come to Jesus Christ, we start showing that sense of transparency and community to them, what it's really supposed to look like. It's not a political setting. It's not of my interest, and I'm going to see what I can get out of everybody else and step on everybody's head to get there. But instead, how can I serve you? How can I love you? What can I do to make a difference in your life? That makes all the difference in the world. In 2010, there was a church in the Philippines that received a truckload of stuff after one of the typhoons hit there. That little church could not distribute the stuff fast enough. So they called other churches in, and together they fed thousands of people. It wouldn't have happened. The food probably would have gone bad. It would have spoiled. It would have not affected. But because they joined together as the body of Christ, they were able to bring back thousands, tens of thousands of people at that time. In the book, The Heavenly Man, Chinese church houses often share things they have, food, money, and even clothing, because they see themselves as one family. This radical fellowship has fueled explosive church growth despite the persecution. Fellowship is more than just getting together and eating. It's shared life, shared burdens, and shared mission. Pastor Martin wrote a book about shared mission, and it has changed the dynamic in which we do ministry as a Hispanic Christian. Because we've understood that the only way that we can really become everything God calls us to do is to go back to the Great Commission and have a shared mission that gets rid of the marginalized, that begins to impact the people around us, that makes a place and empowers people to do things, that gives them a place at the table to be able to come and converse and have saying things. It's opening up doors of opportunities, and then we grow together and we start the processes of growth together. And it has exponentially changed the way we do ministry. And I'm grateful because he not only wrote the book, he also is living it out and teaching us how to do it. We are doing things as a district, Hispanic district, that no other district has ever done before in the history of Foursquare. And it's not because someone's trying to be super spiritual or trying to compete. It's just understanding that if we put ourselves in a place where we become servants and we give people a platform and a place to become part of us, and we get rid of the marginalization that's happened to them, they will begin to flourish and grow. And sometimes it's generational. Sometimes we don't know the next generation will be able to. And we need to understand marginalization can happen at so many different levels. We've got to get rid of that in order for kingdom dynamics, for community to begin to help us to grow where we need to go. Charles Spurgeon said this: Satan always hates Christian fellowship. It is his policy to keep Christians apart. Since union is strength, he does his best to promote separation. His strategy has always been divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. That's the way he keeps us off our balance and keeps us from going where we need to go. And it's only when we start unifying. You know that there are times, and I've had this conversation with pastors, I say, who is going to, if you were to retire tomorrow or something happened to you, do you have anybody in your church that can take your place? No, Pastor, I can't even take a Sunday off because I'm the only person here. I said, what happened to discipleship and what you're supposed to be doing? Reproducing yourself, multiplying yourself and others. Yeah. And they go, well, I'm too busy. I say, are you too busy to pour yourself into someone else so that they can? I tell every pastor, the new ones, I say, the moment you start your church, even if you're young and you're a pastor, start your plan of succession. Who will follow you? If tomorrow you get hit by a truck, if tomorrow something happens and you get a sickness and you don't, God says, I'm calling you home. If you decide to retire, who will take your place? Do you have someone that will follow you? Or do you not? And that can only happen when we have a place of community and we're pouring ourselves and we're reproducing ourselves and we're watching the multiplication begin to happen. It's only then that we begin to see that. And so we're being intentional as a district saying, you know what? We will not let the next generation come up and grow and not find a place. There's a place, a part, a time, and an empowerment we want to give you. And we're starting a whole pipeline from the crib all the way through young adults. And we're watching God exponentially begin to change the dynamic of who we are. We're watching some of these young adults. We have a pastor. One of our pastors here in the United States, he and his wife lives in Florida. He's a young guy, and he works for NASA. He's a bright guy. He's a very bright guy. But his main calling, he works at NASA, but he serves the kingdom. And he does not confuse the two. And God is blessing him, and his church is growing. It's a new church plant. And he started from scratch. And he's watching God do some powerful things. The whole thing is this. It's only in a sense of community that we begin to be everything God calls us to be. The fourth thing is that launching out in faith has to be something we do together. If I launch out in faith by myself, I'm not going to accomplish even a fraction of the things that God has. You know that it's been said before that and you might have heard this expression before being used, but I thought it was pretty interesting when you look at the example of one horse versus two horses working together. It has been stated that a single draft horse, one that pulls something, can typically pull around 3,600 kilos by himself. But if you add a second draft horse together, they can pull significantly more. Together, they can pull not 7,000 pounds or 7,000 kilos, but they can pull together up to 10,000